Okay, far away, remember names and stuff.
Okay, so my name's Mike.
I'm Tanhay.
And
Yeah, you carry on.
we're going to talk about Jonathan Wingate's talk and how he related to branding. First of all, this is just a bit about our general ideas about what we thought the talk was generally about. So we said that both John's agreed on stripping back the brand. He also talked briefly about brand positioning. He said massively that authenticity is important, and your public perception and stuff like that, and how you need to work on how you put yourself out there. And then at the end we've got a bit of a disagreement, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, so he didn't really talk about, in my opinion, branding that much. He never even said the word branding, as far as we can tell. He talked about his personal values a lot, but what we could put together is basically the Prodigy example. It's basically what John Hart was saying at the beginning. The other John was then basically elaborating on a bit more. So this is what we came up with. So the first bullet point is what they did with the Prodigy is quite obviously important marketing strategy. It's really effective and worked really well for the Prodigy. And the first thing they did was obviously make their online presence better by basically clearing out all the rubbish, as he said, and making it basically available to the existing audience as well as a larger audience. And obviously the campaign was started a year in advance to ensure that everything was done well, which is also really important. And what was interesting is that it started with the Lost Leaders, so they gave away 3 bits of the album as well, which I mean, John did go into the other artists as well. What's her name?
Mara.
Yeah, Mara. The similarities there were basically that they were marketed in basically the same way, but he couldn't really explain, in his personal opinion, why the Prodigy was so successful, even though he said himself they wouldn't be successful. He would have turned them down. He said they were over, but he said Marla would be really successful in his personal perception, and she still isn't. So that was really interesting to see that professional disagrees with public, really, the general public. And yeah, that's it. Next slide.
Yeah, I didn't get an awful lot out of Jonathan Wingate's stuff about branding at all. Not an awful lot come across to me personally in terms of branding, except the Mara Carlisle thing and Matt has been talking about. He did say it was important to be authentic, and he said it would. I think he said it was. You had to be really good as well. The music had to be really good, but that was your responsibility. And in his sort of flamboyant language, he's saying that in that bottom statement there. He was saying it's up to individual artists to get their shit together, as he called it. But how that relates to branding in terms of in terms of his talk, I'm not sure.
Yeah, this is kind of what the next.
He's obviously a marketing and branding man, and you could see. Well, I could perceive the amount of branding that had gone into Mara Carlisle. I didn't particularly agree with his perception on where her music was going, but you could see that the marketing and branding had been done on that stuff. But anyway, it's all yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
so
know what else to say on that.
this last slide here we've just put in for a bit of a discussion with the whole group, if you want, like, because I mean, you can talk about this, Keith, but you said that you didn't feel that he really touched on branding. I thought with his ideas and stuff he was relating it back just in a less sort of tangible way, but he never even said the word brand as far as we could tell. So yeah, we just thought.
Yeah, I think it wasn't tangible, but nevertheless was there. His main discussion was on his personal views on music and musicians and stuff.
Yeah, he put his opinions on top of everything that basically John Hart had built up to in the day. He didn't really talk about branding as like an object. He just put his own opinions across sort of in that way. It was just a bit of a different approach, really. So yeah, so that's what we've got.
Has anyone got any questions? It's a very interesting point. It's an interesting point, but it's not surprising how people who think they necessarily know that this is going to be successful with regard to a brand or a political policy or you name it, one or two people, a think tank, get together saying this is going to be the right idea, and then lo and behold, the public have a completely opposite perception and idea. That runs through, in my opinion, life. So, it's nothing to do with, it's not specific to music. You know what I mean? It's almost you can put if you do relate it to music artists, you can do exactly the same strategy to maybe a series of different artists all doing exactly the same thing or the same techniques, all doing the same kind of branding and methodology and approach and strategies and delivery, and have completely different outcomes. It is almost that sometimes you can get a roll of the dice. It'll either come out a 1 or a 6, literally, because you think, so, like they said, that no understanding how that artist did not break.
I could see it like with the Mara Carlisle, and everything was like, but I couldn't see that it was going to sort of take off. But then you could be totally wrong, couldn't you?
That's it. That's the whole point of that. Is sometimes you do everything and you think everything's right, but you get completely the opposite the return to what you think is going to happen. But which just goes to show you that sometimes it literally is you do everything in your power, but then it's a roll of the dice. But you're relating that to music. But that I think that goes across the board with all sorts of things. You know, you never thought that this was going to be a popular. It's you know, so it's an educated guess at times. You know, sometimes it's just pot luck, and I think that's just a risk.
What you can do is give it the best shot.
I think and I think tying that in with values and beliefs. I mean, if you believe in something 110%, you put 100%, 10% effort and energy into it, you'll always get something out of it.
Yeah, the guy that signed them again for the new record from Cooking Vinyl apparently remortgaged his house to sign them. And
yeah.
Like when he told people like John Wingate and John Hart, they were like, "Oh man, what are you doing? They're going nowhere," and then they were successful again. So.
Yeah, I mean the example of Nirvana. I mean, how could you put it more succinctly than that? You know, one of the largest influential bands of a decade. You know, turned down by a major record company because someone thought, no, they're not going to make it. They're not good enough. They don't cut the mustard.
Maybe it's because they thought they'd be too hard to brand because they were like a grunge band.
But then all of a sudden, they influence a whole generation and genre, new marketing, new. You know what I mean? It's like you need a crystal ball.
But they were never like. They weren't fake, were they? Like they weren't branded that heavily.
Well, the brand was themselves, and the brand was authentic. Do you know what I mean? And it was completely new in many respects. You know, and things were very authentic. So okay, thank you guys. Very good.